Today in Grow a Garden in Roblox, I have 4 pieces of news you want to hear about when it comes to the game. 4 changes, 4 updates, 4 announcements, 4 things that could possibly change the game drastically moving forward. If that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and hit the red subscribe button, become part of the first 300k OGs on the channel, and let's get into the video. So a lot has happened in the past little while. Since I played Grow a Garden, I've been focusing on making videos for you guys, and all of a sudden, boom, 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 4 pieces of huge news dropped. And one of the biggest, most important pieces of information is this update right here, update 0.1283, increased the stock chance of the great pumpkin seed. It should now stock more often. Hallelujah! The developers are listening to their community. They hear us when we say that this thing has never been in stock, and it was in stock, but I was asleep, and so was most of the US. But that's okay. At least now we might have a chance for additional stocks from now until the update is done coming up this Saturday. For me, this is a massive win for the community. This proves that the developers do hear our feedback and do pay attention to the things that we struggle with in the game that they're designing. Now, there's other things I would love to see, but perhaps we won't have the chance to see those now. Perhaps I'll have a chance to see those in the future, such as the fact that this event rotates. I've made multiple videos talking about a lot of the things that are wrong with the game with this last update, such as checking the pet shop and not seeing any pets in stock. Isn't that fun? But yes, here in the seed shop, you will have an increased chance of seeing the great pumpkin seed stock. Make sure you get a Discord notifier to notify you whenever this thing does come in stock. You're not going to want to miss it because you definitely don't want to have to spend 1,200 Robux to acquire it, like I did for a video. Great use of Robux. Now let's move on to news item or leak number 2. One of the developers said the following: we have a special music guest coming to Grow a Garden this Saturday, October 25th. They can't tell us who it is, but it's going to be a pre-update conversation during the admin abuse hour leading up to the event. And it's interesting, and it says there's going to be exclusive weather events to celebrate Halloween. Every update they do where it involves a special guest, think of the football update, etc., are always interesting, and the admin abuse is always insane. So of all the admin abuses to jump into and participate in the last handful of weeks, this is one we're probably not going to want to miss. I'm curious to see what they're going to do. A music guest. I mean, I was talking in the Dawn Discord server the other day, and the one guess I had was somebody like Post Malone, because Post Malone is a massive Magic the Gathering fan, so he's a bit of a nerd, bit of a geek, so I figured he might also be a gamer. But aside from that, I can't think of a single musician off the top of my head that is a bit of a nerd, a bit of a geek, a bit of a gamer, or maybe has kids that play this game. I have no idea. If you guys have any ideas, any theories of who this musical guest could be coming up this coming Saturday, comment down below with your thoughts. And then that leads to another great question. Once the admin abuse is done, what's going to be the next event? We are now Tuesday or Monday. It's pretty early in the week for leaks or for information about what the next update could be. It could potentially be a part 3 of Halloween, because Halloween occurs this coming Friday. Next coming Friday. I had to double check the calendar. Next Friday. So we do have at least one more week after this update for Halloween. So I'm curious to see what the developers are going to do and what decisions they're going to make. Extend this event, add a part 3 to this event, or move on to something new before Halloween even comes. Now we're going to talk about 2 more things that developers are leaking about the future of Grow a Garden. And these really get my brain thinking. This one especially. Stock is going to take on an entirely new meaning in the coming weeks. What could this be? I mentioned on multiple different occasions that the entire structure of how this game functions can be very discouraging for new players, for young players, for gamers who aren't used to this kind of RNG-based structure. When you come to the seed shop and you have all this money and you want to get better and better seeds, more often than not, they're not there. And many young audience members don't have a Discord and don't have access to notifiers to let them know when seeds are in stock. And the number of times a young gamer or a new gamer will come and be like, okay, I can get tomatoes, congratulations, I can't get anything else. Now, we're used to that as veterans of the game, but a lot of people can find this frustrating. And not just seeds, but even the event over there, or even the fall merchant. This merchant pops up and you're like, oh boy, I went to this merchant and I grabbed the things that were in stock, but so much was not in stock. These seeds, the maple resin, was not in stock. All of these pets were not in stock. So what's the point of having a rare occurring thing when there's nothing inside? And the same thing with the event. I just checked the event shops and inside was nothing. There were no event pets. There were no event seeds. There was nothing in stock in any of this, and that can feel very discouraging. So when the developers talk about stock taking on an entirely new meaning, I'm excited for a possibility of a structure, of a gaming structure that will allow us to have things in stock but not feel boring. Now, how do you do that when everyone in the game has quintillions of shekels or even billions of shekels? That's going to be a challenge. Because right now, most people don't really need to play the game. They don't need to grow the plants, to grow the fruits, to make the money, to buy better seeds, to grow better plants, to make better fruits, to make even more money, etc., etc. Because everyone has money. So what do? This is the biggest challenge the developers have in front of them. How to recreate and to recapture the joy of growing your garden, the progress, the feeling of progress of growing your garden when everyone has already jumped to the end of that progress and has all the shekels they're ever going to need. How can they change stock for forever if that's the case? It's a great question, because right now in the game, the veteran player base doesn't have a whole lot to do, and the new player base, well, when they come to the seed shop, there's not a whole lot to acquire. Even if someone gives them a boatload of money, they give them a fruit, it's worth sextillions. Oh, I have all this money, but I can't get anything. And even if I could get anything, what's the point? I have all this money. It's a really tough situation, so I'm curious to see how they're going to address this. Then we have this piece of information, and this has thrown the community for a loop, including the community over the Dawn Discord server, who created an entire channel in the Discord server dedicated to try and solve this. Imagine if we added secret rituals you had to do to restock the Great Pumpkin, or are they already there? Who knows? Secret rituals to restock the Great Pumpkin. And I wasn't kidding, the Dawn Discord server made a ritual finding channel in there, and there's hundreds and hundreds of messages of people trying to figure this out. What could a secret ritual be to stock the Great Pumpkin? I think you'd have to go back to Charlie Brown and the Great Pumpkin and Charlie Brown and maybe try and figure out something there. Or maybe it has something to do with the Hex Serpent and the Hex Circle thing, the cosmetic. I honestly haven't put much thought into this, but if you take a look at this Hex Circle that we got in this event, this thing right here, with the Hex Serpent and plants inside, it can do certain effects. When the Hex Serpent does things, watch that, look, you must plant 5 single harvest plants in the circle cosmetic. 2 rounds of rewards are given. The first round gives gears, the second round gives mutations. Consuming the plants grants random rewards. The rarer the plants, the better the variance. So the Hex Serpent performs this ritual and can give you any of these rewards and give you any of these mutations by having 5 different single harvest plants in the circle. So do you just put 5 pumpkins? Halloween mutated pumpkins? 5 pumpkins in there to summon the Great Pumpkin seed? I don't know. I honestly do not know what's going on. I'm just spitballing here, but it's interesting the developers might have just now slip something like that in there, or it's always been there and we're just not figuring it out. That is all the news I have for you today. Hopefully you found this video useful. Hopefully it was valuable to you. If it was, go ahead and hit subscribe, become part of the first 300K OGs on the channel. And as always, guys, thank you very much for watching.